Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show Wednesday, January 8th. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack with you, ready to break down the Wednesday college basketball card. We've got a pretty good slate of action tonight. Let's just jump right into it. DePaul versus Seton Hall in Big East action. We got Seton Hall 3-point favorites, 133 the total. I'm on the Pirates here, at home. Seton Hall, I decided to go money line. They are struggling. Make no mistake about it. And to be honest, I'm disappointed with Shaheen Holloway's team. I expected them to be a little bit better than they've been. They've not been playing good basketball of late. But they've got a winnable game here on their home floor. DePaul team that's been really bad on the road repeatedly. I mean, we've seen one really dud on the road from DePaul after another. I mean, these last few road games, I mean, Texas Tech, they lose by 14. St. John's, they lose by 28. They lose by 20 at Northwestern. They lose by 44 in their last road game against Villanova. They've been just brutalized away from home, this DePaul Blue Demons team, that even I think a Seton Hall team, despite, them losing 5 in a row, not the easiest team to trust, I think they can get back in the win column here. It's just DePaul's been a complete and utter nightmare away from home. DePaul defensively has not played the way I expected. It's kind of why they've been trending over, believe it or not, the last few games. Seton Hall not played with that tenacious defense that this coach, going back to his St. Peter's days, is known for. But I think this is a winnable spot for Seton Hall. I took a money line here. I just think DePaul's just a disaster on the road. And if Seton Hall is going to win a game, this is their spot. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think you have to take Seton Hall or nothing. I mean, to tell you the truth, I don't want to bet this game, but if I were, I'd take Seton Hall and lay the 3 points. I mean, DePaul is won a road game
with this one.
Well, I mean, they haven't won a road game in who knows how long. But with Seton Hall, this team struggles offensively. It's tough to even lay a few points with them. I mean, they're bad. The shooting is awful. Free throws are worse. I think they're 349th, something like that. 348, right around 63%. It's just been a problem. They got to win with their defense. A few games have gone over, like you've talked about. So I thought maybe that the total was a little light looking at it. Not that I want unders with them, but when I was looking at it last night and this morning, I was like, man, this might be a little bit light and could creep over, or even a Seton Hall team total if you didn't want to mess with the laying the 3.
UConn Villanova staying in the Big East. Villanova 1-point home favorites, 144.5 the total. This is usually the Ian Cameron bet the home team when they're a slight home favorite type of spot like this. I'm still not all the way thinking that Villanova is all the way back just yet. We'll see how they fare here against UConn. Now it's UConn going on the road for this game. I certainly understand why people like Villanova in this spot. UConn opened a slight road favorite. It's been a flip of favorites. Villanova is now a slight home favorite. I don't know. I still see this team can go into droughts at times offensively. They've certainly played well defensively of late, Villanova. I get it from a spot perspective, but I'm still not a big believer in Villanova. It's that simple, and I'm not taking them when I feel UConn's still the better team. So I guess I lean UConn, but I do respect how much of a spot this could be in Villanova's favor. What do you think here, C-Mac? UConn Villanova.
Yeah, I mean, Villanova playing better in the last few years. These are the games they just regularly went on the road and won. I don't know if they're the same type team. We'll see. Already 3-0, though, on the road. There is no McNeely in this game, too, correct?
I believe he's out. Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he is out. So that's pretty big. I mean, for both sides of the ball for them. I mean, Villanova, like, if they keep the way they've been shooting the ball, I think they win here. I mean, this line kind of flipped already. Not that I'm crazy or rushing, but they got talent. They got scores. I mean, this team shoots 3 well. They've been pretty good. So it's Villanova or nothing here. And the over. I thought the over could get here. I thought, like, if this was a little bit lower, man, I'd really love it. Like in the 142 range. But it's even 145, 144 and a half. I think this could get over. So I had a pretty strong lean with that over.
Yeah, I could see it. You're right. I'm totally with you. I didn't bet the over, and the reason for that is because I did think mid 140s was a little higher than I would have liked, but certainly
just a little bit.
Plus, I think they're going to miss McNeely's offense. McNeely's one of those stretch four type guys. He can score around the rim, mid-range game, can even step out, hit a three as well for you. Yeah, they miss his versatility, UConn, and he is definitely not playing tonight for them. So they will miss him. It's going to fall a lot more on the shoulders of Hamidou Diarra, solo ball. Those guys are going to have to really step up. But no, I've been impressed. Obviously, Brickus, Wooga Poplar, and it goes without saying, Eric Dixon, monster here. And he's been the straw that has stirred the drink in the turnaround for Villanova here the last several games, no question. Well, I didn't love the over of that game. Here's a game I like the over in: USC and Indiana. We've got Indiana 6.5-point favorites. I don't know how this doesn't go over. I thought this total would be in the 150s. Say what you will about Indiana, their offense is humming when they play at Assembly Hall. They've had no problem scoring points when they've played at home. I think that's probably going to continue here. We just saw USC defensively get absolutely ripped apart by Michigan over the weekend. There's still issues there at that end of the basketball court for Eric Musselman's Trojans team. They play fast still, and you're going to get that from them here on the road, and which could be to their detriment. Means it's going to give Indiana more possessions and more chances to score against a feeble USC defense. So I like the over here. It's Hoosiers are pass for me. USC's really going through some transition. It's clearly kind of a transition year for them. I don't think they're going to have a very good year in the Big Ten. This is not a good year to be making the step up to the Big Ten like USC when you're kind of rebuilding as a program a little bit. So I'd lean Indiana minus 6.5. But for me, the bet I like is the over 149. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this could get over. I think you'd lay it here with Indiana. I think this is kind of a game. SC, I think their talent could maybe keep them in it, but just a bad road spot.
Roadie too. Yeah, not easy travel. Yep.
This is lay the points here with Indiana. Not a team that I really, really love, but I think this spot's pretty good for them in the classic 7-point range. But I think they're good enough at home and SC on the road that lay it here.
All right. I put this game on our marquee games because it is a marquee game. This is honestly a game with two of the teams that could win the Missouri Valley this year. And it is actually a really good mid-major game. I would say try to watch it. Drake and Bradley. It's a really good game here. I expect these two teams to be right there at the end. Wouldn't shock me if this is maybe your Missouri Valley Arch Madness tournament final in March with these two teams playing for that auto bid. We've got Bradley 2-point home favorites, 125.5 the total. Again, it's that classic case of, the home team with, a team that's kind of on their level coming in. You like to sometimes lay it or take the home team, in this case, Bradley. I've watched a lot of Bradley this year. I've watched a lot of Drake this year. I think Drake's better. I just do. And I did take Drake here, plus 2.5. I really like this Drake Bulldogs team. They're versatile. They have balance offensively, perimeter scoring, inside. They defend. I just think they're a little more fluid offensively than Bradley. Bradley sometimes can go through some droughts and some problems scoring at times. They're good defensively, don't get me wrong, but I think just that added firepower Drake has could tilt the balance in their favor here. So, yeah, one of those instances where I just think you're getting not just, a pick 'em. We're not asking Drake. You're getting 2.5. They could lose by 2 and you cash a ticket here with where this number is. So I did bet Drake here in this, but it's a great game. I'm looking forward to it. I think, both teams are excellent defensively, and that explains why this total is where it is, 125.5. So it feels like it's going to be a battle to score points tonight, but clearly it's reflected in the total. C-Mac, what do you think here? Drake, Bradley.
Yeah, this is tough. Bradley, way better, though, here at home. I don't know if they're the tougher team, but at least at home gives them a little bit, and they're the better team scoring. With Drake, this team's just super slow. I mean, they just are 361. They don't get up and down really anymore. The defense is pretty good. But I just thought this was too goddamn low, this total, man. I'm on the over. I got 124.5. I'm like, this is just too down there. I mean, I think it might not go over crazy, but this could just get over this number. Bradley does enough, and they score enough at home, and I think Drake can do it. Bradley's defense isn't, really, really good. So this sneaks over the number here, over.
Alabama, South Carolina. We've got Alabama, 11-point road favorites, 157 the total in this game. I think there's value on South Carolina here. You're getting them off just an absolute smackdown that they suffered at the hands of Mississippi State over the weekend. And look, that's not easy to play that. And we saw what Mississippi State did last night against Vanderbilt. So clearly, South Carolina not alone and feeling the wrath of Chris Jan's Mississippi State. That's a really good team, Mississippi State. I think it's a nice little bounce back. I know Alabama's definitely capable. When their threes are falling, they're dangerous. But 11 on the road, and a South Carolina team off a blowout loss. And don't forget, South Carolina, we have a comparable for South Carolina when they played Clemson here recently at home. And they took care of Clemson. They led that game pretty much start to finish against a pretty solid Clemson team. And another thing about that game, I think it was 91-88. It flew over the total, that game. And I think the total's a little light. Certainly, you're going to give me a total in the 150s with Alabama. That doesn't happen very often. I think this game can get over the total because if you look at that South Carolina game where they hosted Clemson, they won. They covered as dogs. The game went over the total. That's kind of where I'm at here. I like South Carolina plus 11. Think they can cover, at least keep this one competitive. And I like this game to go over the total here, 157. What do you think here, C-Mac, in the SEC, Bama, South Carolina?
Yeah, I got to take the points here. This is crazy. It's even moved up. I don't think, South Carolina is very good. I think they're scrappy enough to hang in this game. Bama's really, really owned them. Even the last couple of years have gone there and won. But the games have been closer. And that's how I feel like this is. Like, I think it's 10 points or less if Bama wins. And, you still got to trust their hot shooting. And really, I think they can get sloppy on the defensive side, where a team in South Carolina that struggled, scoring at times is one of the better scoring teams in the SEC. But I think they could do enough with that Alabama defense and definitely at least hang around in this game.
I'll
be right back, but man.
Yeah, no problem. We'll keep it rolling here. In the meantime, C-Mac will be back in a moment. We got Ole Miss and Arkansas. Arkansas 3.5-point home favorites, 148.5 being the total in this game. Obviously, Coach Calipari and his first sojourn with Arkansas here in the SEC after all those years with Kentucky. I think when you look at this game, I like Ole Miss a lot as a team, and I thought it was a great bet for them on them Saturday hosting Georgia. They got absolutely beaten up by Memphis 87-70 on the road, and then they started SEC play at home against Georgia where they pretty much in control. They were 63-51 pretty much from start to finish. We'll see how this one plays out here against Arkansas. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is this is one of those situations where you've got is Arkansas ranked? Actually, I should verify if they are or not. I'm seeing some conflicting reports here. If they are currently in the AP top, but Arkansas ranked team, road underdog. We'll see how this one plays out tonight. But either way, it's definitely an Arkansas spot. I was going to say if Arkansas, they're not ranked. Thank you very much, Gold Jew. They're not, which means that angle's in play, and we've talked about this, Gold Jew, and that's what I thought. I was pretty sure Arkansas was not ranked in the top 25, which means you've got the unranked home favorite versus the ranked underdog on the unranked road favorite versus the unranked home favorite, I should say, versus the ranked road underdog. There we go. And those spots, it's unbelievable how often the home favorite cashes in those spots. And it says bet Arkansas here. And it is definitely an Arkansas spot. And we do have to remember Ole Miss got their doors blown off at Memphis a couple games ago, the last time they were on the road. So they've still got something to show as far as whether they can get the job done away from Oxford, because they certainly did not look good the last time we saw Ole Miss on the road against Memphis. That being said, I really like this Ole Miss team. I think I like this team and their upside more than I like Arkansas at this point in time. But I respect the spot, and that angle is no joke, where you bet the unranked home favorite laying points against the ranked road underdog. You've been doing very well in the past. So, although good point there with the it's not been as good this year. 4-6 against the spread, 30-32 ATS going back to last year. That's definitely something worth noting. Still lean Arkansas here, but I'm not like an Arkansas as much as, certain other teams I would in this one. Because I really like Ole Miss, and I think Chris Beard's done a hell of a job. And you're not asking Arkansas just to win now. Like, it's not like a pick'em range or -1. They got to win by 4 or more. I could see this being a one-possession game. So I get the Arkansas spot. We'll see if they're able to get it done. But like I said, I really like Ole Miss, and that's why it's not a strong opinion for me when it comes to being interested in laying the 3.5 here with Arkansas in this game. All right, let's move along. Connor will be back in a moment. Next up, we've got Notre Dame and NC State in the ACC. NC State 2.5-point home favorites, 138.5 the total in this game. I don't think this is a very good NC State team. I just don't. I don't think they're very good. They're obviously had that miracle run, and Kevin Keats is a nice coach, but they lost a lot of the players from that group, and I don't think they've necessarily replenished the cupboard, if you will, at NC State this year. 8-6 is their record. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They get blown out by Wake Forest in their last road game, lose to Virginia, lose on the road at Kansas. Here at home, they are 8-1, but you look at the schedule, there's been a lot of easier opponents that they've played. They really feasted on a weaker home slate in non-conference play. They lose to Texas. They get blown out by BYU and Purdue. I mean, what's their best win? Florida State, 84-74, and I think Florida State, has some issues. I like Notre Dame here, and if anything, Notre Dame's going to be chomping at the bit. They lost at Georgia Tech, 86-75. They lost a heartbreaker at the buzzer at home against North Carolina on Saturday. I think you have a chance to see them bounce back here in this one against NC State. I'll take 2.5 with Notre Dame. I think they got a chance to go into this building and win the game in outright fashion. Notre Dame for me here, plus 2.5 in this one. All right, we continue along. We've got Colorado and UCF. UCF is a pretty solid 6-point home favorite here in this game, pretty much across the board now, 148.5 the total in this game. You have the team off the embarrassing loss, type of deal with UCF here. Look, Kansas, we know, is capable on their best day to put a beat down on somebody, but I don't think UCF envisioned it to be quite that bad, them losing by that magnitude against the Kansas Jayhawks over the weekend. But that was not a good sign for UCF. That was not a good game at all from UCF. Kansas absolutely put the hammer down on them. It ended up, 99-48. It was really a horrific defensive effort from UCF. And UCF's not a great defensive team, but to give up 99 points, you don't necessarily expect something like that. This team was good enough to win on the road at Texas Tech. Let's not forget that. We'll see if they can bounce back here at home against the Colorado Buffaloes. I think when you look at Colorado, you start to look at the way they played away from Boulder. They have the loss to Michigan State by 16. They get blown out by Iowa State by 28. And then just recently in Tempe against Arizona State, they lose by 20. I think UCF clearly has shown they've been capable at times this year. Let's not forget they also had, a nice win earlier in non-conference play, UCF as well. And they had a, solid win in non-conference play against, I'm trying to think who the team was, but it was back earlier in the season. I think you've got a chance to see them rebound, especially with them going on the road after this. A chance to rebound. It was Florida Atlantic, and it was A&M. That's the very first game of the year. That's the one I was thinking of. They played A&M the very first game of the season. That's the quality win I was thinking of. This team's got wins against Florida Atlantic, A&M, Texas Tech on the road. Yeah, they've had some bad losses, ugly losses, I should say. Because losing to Wisconsin's not a bad loss. Wisconsin's been an excellent team this year, and probably the best offensive team we've seen from them in some time. And then they had the loss to Kansas, which was not good. So, but I like this spot for UCF. You're off a truly embarrassing, ugly home loss. You're at home again. You go on the road. You face the Arizona schools. You got to get the job done here. Colorado's not shown me enough as far as their play away from home. So I like UCF here, laying the 6 to bounce back strong here tonight against the Colorado Buffaloes in this one. All right, we roll along here as we wait for CMAC to return. We've got Butler and Providence. Providence 2.5-point home favorites, and the total here sitting around 124, 123.5, pretty much across the board. Butler is still kind of a flighty team for me. It's difficult for me when we're talking about Providence, only laying a short number or catching points at home. I'm usually a big fan of betting, Providence in these type of spots. I think the under could be in play here. I kind of agree with the total going down in this game. I could see it being a bit of a lower scoring affair. Providence has had, their share of adversity this season to deal with. There's no question. Ups and downs throughout the course of the season. Was one hell of an effort from them in their last game against UConn. Absolutely giving the Huskies everything they could handle in that game by a score of 87-84, just falling short against UConn. Great effort that was for them. The last time they played at home, they got absolutely, destroyed. And this is a team that usually plays well here at Amica Mutual Pavilion. Used to be called Dunkin' Donuts Center. But they're off back-to-back home losses. In fact, 3 straight home losses because they lost to St. Bonaventure as well. And then St. John's and Marquette at home in Big East play. St. John's and Marquette are very good teams. I think this is a step down in class for Providence. You really showed a great effort for yourselves on the road in stores against UConn. To me, Butler's just too all over the place to trust them. And, they're on a 7-game losing streak. I know they've covered a few because they've been getting a lot of points in these games, but this is winning time now. You've lost 7 in a row. You're only getting 2.5. You're going to have to win the game or come close if you're going to cash a ticket. I think it's Providence for me, laying 2.5 at home. I would probably take them on the money line, get minus 140 instead. CMAC is back in the house. CMAC, What do you think here? Butler, Providence.
Yeah, Butler, 7 straight losses. His team is, they shot the ball horrible. But St. John's was even worse, and they still lost that game. We talked about it. St. John's played well yesterday. Providence, in those couple losses, they were tight against better teams, like you talked about. Bonaventure, St. John's. This isn't the same team. And a bad blowout against Marquette, and then at least hung in there and covered against UConn.
Just to win the game. Hopkins. I hate to say that.
Oh, he's the
game, but he's the glue. He's the
guy. Yeah, his points are huge. So I get that the totals come down a little bit. I think this is a spot big when they need it here at home.
Yep.
So you get it there, and I kind of like first half. I think they come out. They've been very good. I've noticed even when they blew that game against St. John's, they had like a 10-point lead or more at halftime. And that's so they came, they lost it. They covered that game. But, it just seems like a good spot. You just got to lay basket. Just take it money line or so, minus 115, first half Providence.
All right. The games we talked about when you were away just a few minutes quickly. Ole Miss, Arkansas. Do you have anything there?
No, I just respect Beard. It's obviously, I think, Arkansas spot. For getting their ass kicked. But I think Ole Miss is the better team.
I do. A better coach.
And it's stretched
Beard over Cal in a heartbeat.
Yeah, me too. I just love how Beard that plays on a neutral or on the road. So it's tough. That I stayed off the game. I kind of see both sides to that. And we'll see. It seems like a good spot, though, for Arkansas to get the win. I have nothing on Colorado, UCF. Just keep me away from those basketball teams. That's all I got to say.
I'm taking UCF. All-time embarrassment.
Well, I mean,
bounce back.
Yeah. I just can't do it. And they've been the extremes have been wild with them. I don't know what basketball team they are right now. Both these teams, both these coaches, Boyle's been awful. Dawkins has just been so up and down with UCF. They haven't been playing any defense like they did last year. It's like, where has that gone? For UCF in some of these games, it's just not there at all. And I have nothing Notre Dame, NC State. I think this is a solid spot with NC State, short number at home to get the win. And I like this under. I didn't quite play it, but I lean that way. Both these teams are slow. NC State's gotten really slow. They're right around 320. Notre Dame not much faster, 272. So that was one. If that was like 141, I would have been really loved the under. I think it's right around 138. I still lean that way under.
Yeah, I've never seen a team with Kevin Keats. playing as slow as that this year's NC State team is. They have really definitely kicked
Yeah.
the pace down quite a bit. And I think he realizes I don't have the scoring I used to either. And we got to
Yes,
play
he doesn't.
a little more defensive, and that's what we're seeing with them, no doubt. All right, let's go to the Big Ten. We've got Penn State and Illinois. Illinois, 9.5-point home favorites, 163.5 the total. This really should have a lot of points. Penn State is the defense is optional with the Penn State Nittany Lions. We have definitely discovered that. I think as they've played the better teams on their schedule. They've had some major issues defensively. Obviously, they lose 77-71 against Indiana. They're actually on a 4-game ATS losing streak. Yeah, they've won 3 of the 4 games, but they were laying a big number against Drexel. They didn't cover. They didn't cover against Penn. They were 4.5-point favorites against Northwestern. They only won by 4, and then the outright loss to Indiana at home, 77-71. The big issue is the defense for Penn State. I like them offensively, though. I mean, that's certainly not been an issue. They've got Ace Baldwin leading the way. It's a gifted scorer for them, and they've got obviously a nice inside-outside balance to their team offensively. We'll see how they fare here. Illinois is phenomenal. There's no doubt. They're 11-3. They go on the road in Big Ten play to the West Coast, and they sweep the 2 games against Oregon and Washington. Very impressive fashion. Not many performances in games as impressive as what they did at Oregon. Like Dana Altman's a good coach. Oregon's a good program. And they just laid waste to Oregon, 109-77. And then they didn't have a letdown. It was a closer game, but they found a way, 81-77. Trey White, Kylan Boswell. Obviously, it goes without saying, the Lithuanian wonder, Kasparas Yakachonis, has been phenomenal for Illinois. He's a fun player to watch. Why do I get the sense, though, C-Mac? This is a little bit of a tricky spot for Illinois. I love the way they're playing, but they're coming back from the West Coast, sweeping those 2 games, laying damn near double digits here in this game against Penn State. And the one thing about Penn State is I don't love their defense, but they can score, and they've actually given Illinois some problems here the last 4 meetings. The last 2 seasons, believe it or not, Penn State 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread versus Illinois. I took Penn State. I took the 10 here. It was 10 earlier in the day, 10.5. I took the points with Penn State. I think now we're at the point where the value is at its zenith with Illinois. The power rating is through the roof with how good they've played, but they're coming back home feeling good. 2 wins on the West Coast, laying a bunch of points. A Penn State team that can come through the back door with the way they can score, led by Baldwin. I think it's a spot to take Penn State personally, plus 10, a lot of points. And Illinois has struggled head-to-head recently with Penn State. So I'm on the dog here over the total as well. It's hard to bet under with these 2 teams right now, even though it's a high total. C-Mac, what do you think here in the Big Ten?
Yeah, it's hard to, but this is up there. We are getting there. I mean, if Illinois comes to play, of course, they have the better defense here than Penn State. It is a rough travel. We did it with college football, and now kind of with college basketball, like you talked about, that road trip, and now back home, how easy it would be. This is tough because I think Penn State can hang around. In the end, it's just not a game I wanted to be involved with. You're right. I remember that one last year, especially at home, was a little bit of a shocker with Penn State. And one thing, though, they could score. We know Baldwin, they especially get inside and get to the free throw line, they could hang around. So it's just not a game I wanted to be involved with. I want the under, but it's a dangerous game. I just think the total here is pretty wild at 164.
Yeah, it does feel like you're playing with fire a little bit with the under here, with just how good the offenses are and especially how weak the defense, especially for Penn State, is. And both teams play it pretty quick too. All right, A&M and Oklahoma. We've got the Sooners 2.5-point home favorites, 147 the total. I'm actually on A&M now that it's moved this much. I wasn't on this game initially because A&M opened the road favorite. Now they're road dogs. I like Buzz Williams' team quite a bit, Wade Taylor and company. The more I watch Oklahoma when they've played now some of the some of the better teams they've had to play lately, I've not been impressed. And I'm a fan of Porter Moser, but my goodness, this team, the offense just can completely come to a crashing halt like it did against Alabama. There's been games too where on the defensive end they've kind of let things go a little bit, and we've seen signs of that. A&M is just a machine right now. They've covered 6 straight. They've shown the ability to go on the road and win, like when they beat Creighton. They went on the road. They beat Rutgers. That's not an easy place to play. Purdue, they got a nice win. I mean, they've got a nice little resume they've built up, A&M. And I think they're just flat out better than Oklahoma. So now with this line moving as much as it has, like all the way from 2.5 on A&M as a favorite, now does Oklahoma 2.5 as a favorite. I think they're definitely, I like A&M at this number. Worst case scenario, Oklahoma wins at the end by 2. That's how I kind of see it. Well, I wouldn't be shocked if A&M wins again. What do you think here?
There's no Taylor here for.
Is he out
for A&M? Yeah, he's out.
Oh man,
that's why this game I think flipped early on. The news came out like real early this morning.
I still like him actually. Even it's a huge loss, but I'm telling you what, we saw for at least for over a half, Wyoming was in tough there with the with New Mexico. I still don't trust Oklahoma, but what do you think?
I do trust them after getting their ass waxed. Just the worst basketball game they've had all season long against Alabama. And it was bound to happen, I guess, on the road. They couldn't hit a shot. I watched that first half, and Alabama just hitting everything, running away with it, like we see with them at home. I think this is a good one. Oklahoma, in the series has been really good the last few years. I love them to come back at home, and I took them first half, just -1. They just need to. I think they win the first half here, come out strong after the beatdown in the last game.
And it was a beatdown against Alabama for them, no question. All right, Arizona State, Kansas. We've got Kansas 14-point home favorites, 144.5 the total. Not good returns for Bobby Hurley and Arizona State in their last Big 12 road game where they went on the road at BYU. They get lost by 20. Now, they did bounce back at home and beat Colorado by 20, but can they go on the road to Fog Allen and play that way? Yeah, Kansas off a 99-48 win. Sometimes it's not easy for teams after a win that dominant to have a strong game the next time out. But I think it's probably Kansas. Play it or don't play it for me. I don't trust Arizona State enough on the road against the best of the best teams. And that BYU game is a perfect example. They got steamrolled by BYU, and a BYU team that lost at home last night, by the way, to Texas Tech. So that's what makes that look even worse for ASU. So I don't trust ASU enough here at the Fog. It's a team that's clearly got a talent advantage over them. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, the trust is hard here with Arizona State. And one thing with Kansas, and I was kicking myself, I didn't take them, right after the game with West Virginia, especially that first half against UCF, and they were up like 20 points. It was drives you crazy when you don't make a bet, something that was clear as day. This number's big. Arizona State, though, does have the scores to maybe hang around. It's just Kansas at home. Bill Self has really gotten, because the inconsistency that's just been with the Jayhawks. It's almost like they're still trying to figure out a little bit of the rotation. Like, do they want to play 7 or 8, even 9, because they are that deep? And because even here at home, they've kind of had a couple rough ones. So I think Kansas wins, but no way I'm going to lay 14. Not right now. I want to see them definitely play a little bit better basketball. With them, it's crazy to say because the points will be huge if their defense plays well. They've been dead under, man. Like when I was looking through it this morning, how much is of an under team this Kansas has been? At least the numbers. I think it's 1-12 or 1-13 this year.
Yeah,
to the under.
Yep, it has been. It's been strong.
It's been
we'll
crazy.
see if that continues here tonight. All right, Virginia Tech and Stanford. We have a couple of late night West Coast games to wrap it up. Stanford 9-point home favorites, 142.5 the total. I'll be honest. I try to give you a lean on every game. I don't really have much here. To me, Virginia Tech, it's tough to trust them. A few of these road games have been ugly. They lose by a boatload at Duke. They lose, of course, at South Carolina by 10. They did beat Miami, but Miami's not fired their coach, but Jim Larinaga steps down, resigns. They're going through a bunch of turmoil there. I don't know how much you want to put too much stock into. Wow, Virginia Tech beat Miami. They're back on track. Well, Miami's in just a complete shambles right now. So I wouldn't go too crazy over that. And I don't like I kind of feel like it's too many points, but to be giving Virginia Tech. But you also have Stanford coming back home after a pair of blowout losses on the East Coast against Pitt and Clemson. And now they're back home, bounce back spot. I could see them winning by double digits, especially when Virginia Tech's lost each of their last 2 road games by double digits. So I ended up off the game in the end. C-Mac, what do you think?
No, I looked at this game a little bit. Stanford back home, I think they win this, but it's up there at 9. It's come down. If this was a little bit lower, I think this game could get over. I wasn't crazy about it, but man, if this was a few points lower, I'd be all over it. These teams have gone over at least this number a bunch. Stanford, 4 of 5, and the one that didn't, they lost to Oregon 76-61. And Virginia Tech, all of a sudden, what have they gone over, Vanno? 5 straight?
Yes.
As well?
Yep.
They give up. Their defense hasn't been very good. Seems like they're at least getting the mid-60s. So it might be like the slam dunk, but I think this game, might be able to get over the number here.
Yeah, definitely. They've been trending that way, both of these teams, over the total. We'll see if that continues, or if one of them or both of them have the capability of clamping down. We'll wait and see. All right, we go from one Virginia to another. The Virginia Cavaliers taking on the Cal Golden Bears. We've got Cal 4.5-point home favorites. The total sitting at 130 in this game. I like Cal. It's up to 4.5 now, but I still like them in this spot. Don't think this is a very good Virginia team. We've certainly seen that on display already this season. Now you're asking them to make their first significant, trip of the season in ACC play, against this Cal Golden Bears team, which is coming off also a couple of losses to Clemson and Pittsburgh, just like we talked about with Stanford. But I think they're going to be able to get the job done here at home. They have been a good point spread team, Cal. It is worth noting that here. They've covered 4 of their last 7 games. Virginia, they get blown out by Louisville 70-50. Not very impressive that their wins are against Manhattan, Holy Cross, Bethune-Cookman, American University, and a 3-point win against a way down NC State team. Every other game, they've been ambushed pretty much. They lose by double digits to St. John's, to Florida, to SMU, and to Louisville in their last game. Going out all the way to the West Coast. Cal in a bounce back spot, and I still think Cal is the better team as well. I'm okay with laying 4.5 here with Cal. C-Mac, what do you think?
They're at home, but I don't know if they're the better team. It's just Virginia can't fucking score, so that's the only reason it's tough to take them.
That's
but
only
I think
happened for the last several years. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a struggle. It's close, but I think they can stay in this game, and it's a clash of styles here, of course.
Yeah,
Cal wants to get up and down a little bit more. Of course, Virginia doesn't. It's tough. I'd still take this under. I know Cal's at home; they could dictate, the pace a little bit, but I think this kind of still maybe even stays under the number. And if it does, I think that leads to more, with Virginia being in the game a little bit, especially if they have a decent day shooting it. If the shots aren't dropping, it's tough for them. It can be real ugly. But Cal, one thing with them, Savannah, the defense has been rough. Like even Virginia seems like they could, do okay here tonight. Like it won't be that difficult. The numbers have been awful for the Scout team.
That's true. That's the one thing that would concern me. But I look at it too as, can Virginia take advantage of it? I'm not so. When you're only scoring 50 at home against Louisville is not, the second coming of a defensive juggernaut. And at home to them, you scored 50 points. That is not a good sign for the UVA offense at all. And that's what you're worried about here. Even against a bad defense, or at least a suspect defense, are you capable? Virginia hasn't always shown that to be the case. Shout out to everyone in the chat. I just want to shout out everyone. It's a great crew. Gold Jew, G. Martinez, Nunya, Rick J. Peasy, Daryl Turner. Let me see who else here. Team Moss, Redbeard, CLC. We appreciate everyone. Skis Picks, everyone joining us. We'll try to answer some of these questions I see here. I think someone asked about the yeah, there it is. St. Louis versus the Bonnies. St. Louis was good to me at home recently when they played St. Joe's, but Bonnies are better than St. Joe's. That being said, that home court's no joke. This is a team that's, I think, got the experience to take advantage of it. I kind of think the money's right making St. Louis a favorite there against St. Bonaventure. I know, but the problem is St. Bonaventure's been a point spread machine, man. They have been one of the best point spread teams in the country. It's not easy to fade St. Bonaventure. They've been just an ATM machine. But I do think St. Louis is favored for a reason there. What did you think of that one, C-Max? St. Louis, St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, I got to be off. I mean, I haven't been on Bonaventure enough. I mean, probably like 4 or 5 times they haven't lost. And it's kind of tough. I think the points could be valuable. I think they're due maybe to have a bad one, but is this the team really here? Because I think the Bonnies have a little bit still the better defense of these two teams. That should be a good game. Just nothing really an angle I found a bet.
And just a couple from our guy JP. I like Robert Morris at home. Bobby Moe at home against Cleveland State. I do like them there in that one. And GW plus, you know what? Rhode Island's a team I want to start betting against because they've had this great start, and you're starting to see now, now that conference play is here, it's not going to be as easy. The A-10's a good conference, too. It's not easy. You got to grind your way through the Atlantic 10 schedule.
George Washington's been good.
They've been starting to play a little bit better. I like the over in that game more than a side, but I don't hate taking the points with G-Dub.
Yeah, I can get there. Rhode Island's played well, and even George Washington. They're a team that I've loved to bet the last few years. I haven't much, and then they've been red hot. I don't know what have they won? 7 of 8. They just beat up Dayton. They've been playing solid basketball. So, yeah, tough game.
No doubt. A shout out to Julian. I forgot to mention Julian at Cesario in the chat as well. All right, C-Mac, step up to the plate. Your chance to have at it. Any of the games we didn't talk about that you're liking on the board tonight?
No, not really. Here, I'll hit you with one. I took Coastal Carolina. I just don't think App State should be laying 8 points at home. I don't fucking buy it. I mean, when you look at these two teams, other than being at home,
I'm in agreement. The only thing I was concerned about is App State killed them twice last year.
Yes, they did. I think those are yes, they were. I think App State, of course, was a little bit better. Coastal's been a lot better this year, at least shooting it, and the defensive numbers have been good. That's why I think they've been winning a lot of their games. I mean, their record's the same, and App State's just been kind of flighty. I thought 8. I got to take the 8 here with it. I just think it was, especially in a game where I think it's going to be low scoring. It's at 126. Unless they have an awful game. And yes, I saw the scores of last year, but I took the 8 there with Coastal.
All right, there we go. As far as the games we haven't talked about that I like, I'm with the chat. There's a bunch of people kind of liking LaSalle as a small home dog against Loyola Chicago. I do too.
Yeah, I take LaSalle.
I like LaSalle in that spot. I'm in agreement with that. Florida Atlantic, Charlotte. I like I'm going against the market there. Market's betting that under, but Florida Atlantic's a team I like over the top. Charlotte's the key. Charlotte can sometimes not score a lot and easily, but I think that game maybe can go over the total. East Carolina at home laying a small number against Temple. IPFW laying a small number against Milwaukee. I mentioned Robert Morris. Over the total with Southern Illinois and Belmont, is one I like as well. Evansville +6 against Illinois State. Illinois State's a real weird team. I don't trust them laying 5.5, 6. I know Evansville's not great, but I think Evansville has covered at least a couple of numbers recently. I think Evansville is a home dog against Illinois State there is still worth a look. And then I'll throw 2 totals, 2 overs that I really like. Fordham and Citadel. That total to me is too light. 138. The teams last year, one of them went to overtime, and both games in regulation got into the 140s. If you look at them recently, Furman is trending over the total in recent games. Citadel, same thing. I was surprised that total was not even 140 in that Furman Citadel game.
It's
I do
just
like
Citadel.
that.
They got to score. That's been just their issue every once in a while. They have just a fucking awful game.
But their games lately, CMAC, have gone over, and it's more so because of their defense has been giving up points. But
yeah,
like I say, I think that total was just too light in that Furman Citadel game. And then the other total I like is Fordham and VCU. I think at over 144, 145, it's gone up to. I like that game to go over the total as well, because both of those teams, and Fordham all of a sudden, believe it or not, who would have thought Fordham would be an over machine? But that's exactly what we have seen from the Fordham Rams. I think people have been, assuming Fordham's just the same old, they're going to play a 62-60 type of game, struggle to score, and their games are going to go under again this year. But that's not been the case. They're 10-4 to the over. They're on an absolute torrid overrun lately. 7-1 to the over in their last 8 games. We're not asking for a huge shootout here by any stretch of the imagination. VCU's gone over in 3 straight. Their offense is humming. They just put up 90, 75, and 84 points in their last 3 games. So I thought Fordham VCU was a good over as well. In fact, one of those games I'm going to use for best bet coming up at the end of the show. There you have it, everyone. Shout out to everyone. We appreciate you guys tuning in here as far as the college basketball hitting the book show. Oh, yeah, the added board. I always forget those games. I like Holy Cross against Navy, Army against Loyola Maryland, High Point and Charleston Southern over the total, Longwood and Asheville. I like Longwood and the over in that game, Winthrop, Gardner-Webb. I probably lean Gardner-Webb now. They're betting Winthrop.
I lean Gardner-Webb.
I lean Gardner-Webb now, home dog, plus 3.5. And that's another over I think can get there. And Colgate, give me the toothbrush company. Colgate laying the points against Lehigh. So there you go. Those are the added board games.
Colgate normally beats them. They haven't been very good this year.
They've owned them. I'm basically going on series history there, and I think Colgate could be one of those teams that they're not as good. This is not one of Matt Langille's better teams, and he's been the coach there for a long time. But I do think that they've owned Lehigh. I think they're a team that's going to get better under that coach as the season goes on, and you're starting to see signs of it. I think they can take care of business there at home. The toothbrush company, the toothpaste company, whatever you want to call them, Colgate, -6 there against Lehigh. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We're going to wrap up the show now with best bets. And a reminder, we're not on Thursdays, so tomorrow no show. We'll be back on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, with the Friday/Saturday preview. We'll do the marquee Friday games and a lot of Saturday games to preview those on the Friday show. So make sure you join us for that. CMAC, let's wrap it up. What do you got here for best bet tonight?
Yeah, let's go to it. Providence, desperate at home for a win after a bunch of losses. First half, -1. You can go money line. I think it's 125 around there, but it's 1 point. They'll cover after the first half. Providence.
All right, Providence first half against Butler for CMAC with his best bet. Mine, let's hope for no bad beat tonight with the best bet. Let's go to Fordham and the Citadel. Over 137.5. That total's just a little too low in my opinion. Fordham Citadel, over 137.5. Or not Fordham, Furman, I should say. Furman Citadel, over 137.5.
Mark Furman.
Best bet, exactly. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We thank you guys for joining us once again for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Book show. And one last thing, too. Make sure you check out the College Football show for Monday. We got you all set up for the national semifinals in the college football playoff. Notre Dame, Penn State tomorrow night. Ohio State, Texas on Friday night. Sides, totals, player props. We dropped a few player props in there as well. So make sure you check out the College Football Hitting the Book show that we recorded on Monday, talking Notre Dame, Penn State, and Ohio State, Texas. We're looking forward to those 2 college football playoff semifinal games for sure. And a reminder, we're back with you Friday with the College Basketball show, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and we'll be on all season throughout the college basketball season, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, with the College Basketball Hitting the Book show. CMAC, anything to add before we say goodbye?
Nope, that is it. We'll see you Friday. Good luck.
Sounds good. Let's gash some tickets tonight. Good luck to everyone tuning in. We thank you for tuning into this edition of the show. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.